All right. Good morning. I am Julie of Temperature Quilts. I feel like you all know that by now, but I'm supposed to introduce myself all the time, so I'll do that, especially in case you happen to be someone watching this recorded later on. And we are here in February to sew our January column for the Temperature Quilt Sew Along. I am working on two concurrently. So I have one that I've been showing in the Facebook group that I decided to sew weekly. And that is what is my current actual temperatures here where I live in San Diego. And then I decided to make a second quilt that I'm going to sew here with you today. And that is not current. I'm curious to know what you think it is. I will probably reveal what it is by the end of today. But I'm going to grab real quick the column that I do have done to show you. I'm going to wait just about a minute to let people come on in. Looks like some people are saying where they're from. Snowy Alberta, Denmark. I'm in San Diego, which is usually sunny San Diego. It's actually been really chilly lately, and it was raining yesterday. And my brother woke up with frost on his car today, which is like crazy for Southern California. Um, but weather is obviously that's the whole theme of this is weather. So it's fascinating to see the differences in places. I love what's been popping up in the Facebook group when people are doing a historical year versus current in the same place and seeing the variations, the differences. That's my iron heating up. So this has been really I am loving what we're doing so far. So I'm going to grab my column that's done to show you, and then we're going to hop on in. So Rachel is here in the comments. So any comments you see posted by Jaybird Quilts, that's Rachel. She is in Philadelphia. Been tracking her temperatures too. I haven't figured out yet if what I'm going to make you, Rachel, but I'm tracking your temperatures and I'm going to make you something. What I don't know yet. I have some ideas. So this is my guide for San Diego, which is the one that I've been doing. So you should have made this of yours by now. If you need help, please let us know. And then I have tracked all my January temperatures. Need to write today down, February 1. And so I've been keeping my projects in these bins. I think we talked about them last time. They're from Inner Design, and I like them because they stack in my little IKEA shelf. And so this is my San Diego bin, and I have all my hexagons that are half hexagons that are already cut, and then I have my big stacks of fabric somewhere else. But so I made my sample column with you last month, and so that is this. Never actually got around to pressing it, I just noticed. And then I have made January. The one thing I've been noting with people in the group is if you want to take a picture, it's best to actually lay it on the ground to take a picture. I know it's hard to get like high enough above it because if you hang it on a design wall, it has a tendency to stretch. If you want to do it like real super, super quick just for a picture and then take it down, you can. But very often we put blocks on a design wall and then we leave them for like a long period of time while we're working on it. I don't suggest doing that with this because over time it can stretch and become longer. And while not the end of the world, your columns may not all be the same length, and then it may be harder to figure out your sashing and put them together. So this is my January here in San Diego. You see, there's a couple times it got really cold, and then we had like a little bit of extra heat going on. And then there was a section that seems overall kind of boring of the same highs over here, and then same, very similar lows down here. But the reality is it's the truth. It's what happened. It was the same and then the same in another and then the same in another. And then it got really cold at the end of the month. And this is going to be amazing when you see the entire snapshot of the quilt as a whole. So one section may be boring in a sense, but A, it's the truth, and B, it is what it is. And I think in the overall quilt is going to work. So Suzanne asked, would it make sense to add the sashing to each month to prevent the stretching? So the thing with that is depending on the size you're making. So I told everybody you don't have to decide what size you're making yet. If you are making the smallest lap, you have no sashing. What would happen with that one is, let me grab this. So this is a sample December that I sewed. So imagine for a minute, if you are not if you're doing the small lap, all of them we're going to cut straight across, so that information is going to be in your second part of your pattern that we are going to get out to you. But you are just going to piece these together. So you would have to wait until each month. And there's nothing to sew onto them yet if you're doing the small lap. If you are doing the regular lap or the queen, there's one size sashing. And if you're doing the king, there's another sashing, I think. I have to look back at the pattern. I don't have it all memorized yet. So you can do that, but you would have to know which size you're doing now. And I haven't given the information yet on how best to do that. If that's something that you want to do before I send the pattern out, the one big thing I will say is to make sure that when you are sewing, this can stretch easy. This is bias. So pin your sashing along. And I recommend sewing with this up and your sashing on the bottom, even though usually you sew with the smaller item on top and your sashing is smaller. You'll want this on top so you can make sure that your seams don't flip, and that you can keep that all nice and straight. So yes, that it is an option, Suzanne, but you have to know exactly what size you're going to make, which not everybody does yet. So I have it more structured to sew your column, and then if you store it nice and just gently fold it, I've been folding it in half and then in thirds. It will stay nice and safe, in a little storage bin right now, and will not get stretched and nothing will happen. So that is what my plan is to do right now. But if people really want the sashing information, I can try and get that out a little bit sooner. I know some people are doing historical years and want to get it done sooner as a gift and are not necessarily going along with the whole year. So a little bit ago, I posted a picture in the Facebook group of what I have in front of me as my setup. As I said, I'm doing a historical month, so I know all of my information. So one thing that I did is I made myself a custom little sheet here because I know all 365 days. So this is my range and my colors. And then I totaled up those numbers is how many of them I need. So I need 15 of this one, 19 of this one, 26 of this one, so forth and so on. For today, since we're doing January, I think I go up to here. I thought I needed this one, but I don't. I kind of wrote, like, you can see like my little handwriting of how many I needed. So I didn't actually cut these yet because I don't need them. They're more for warmer months. So then what I did was I actually laid everything out. So I'm going to pick up, so I am filming on my laptop. I'm going to pick up my laptop to show you what I did is I laid out my first 6 days in a little column right here. And then I have the remainder 25 days all laid out. And let's show you what that looks like. Okay. So this is my first 6 days. So this is how our column starts, is with the jewel and the half hexagon, and all this is in your pattern as well. And then I'm going to add this one, and then this one, this one, and this one, and keep going. And then that takes up more space. So what I did is this is my next pair, and then this one, and then this one. And what I made sure that I did is, since we sew a left and then a right, I made the left on the top and then the right on the bottom, and I made them at the right angle. If I made my stacks like this, I might accidentally put my low on one side and then my high or whatnot. So hopefully this will help me remember which side is my high, which side is my low, and keep all my colors organized. This method might work today. This method might not work as well as I have planned. This is not actually how I have done my other one, because I just laid out 1 month at a time fully, like I laid out these first 6 days. I know some people are just going to pull each day as they go, referencing their chart. That's totally valid as well. Whatever is going to keep you from getting confused and keep you on track is what you should do. So I am going to get my machine set up and get to sewing. So today the structure really is that I am going to be actively working on sewing my column and be available here to answer your questions. So this don't want to say it's going to be boring, but this is going to be something where you can hop back in and out. If you got something to do, you can have this on in the background while you're sewing. If you happen to be watching this recorded, you could turn up the speed and watch this faster. You can ask questions now. You can ask questions in the recording. Either of those work. So happy to have you here this morning. Hope you are enjoying the sew along so far. And then at the end, I'm going to go over some of the other stuff that we have planned and coming up. So I'm going to turn you and angle you down so you can see my machine and my workspace. So we are in my actual studio. This is where I work. I think it's been a long time since I've given a studio tour, but basically behind me is usually where I have my design walls. And then this is my fabric storage and my files. And then if I turn you over that way, that's my desk. That's where my serger is and my computer. And that's where I do all the writing of the patterns and all that good stuff. And got a whole bunch of Nate's artwork over there. Did a similar process, stacked each month from the last low to the first high. My spreadsheet pulled up. That's a great idea too. Yeah. So whatever's going to work best for you, just to keep as organized as you can. Quick refresher from our January when we did our sample column. I'm using a scant 1/4 inch, which is just one thread over, so that it counts for what's in my seam allowance, and I'll end up with an accurate seam allowance that way. And I am using Aurifil 2600. It's my favorite medium gray. I think depending on what your fabrics are, you pick something that is as neutral to them as possible. So like if your column is all blues, go ahead and pick blue thread. This piecing is a lot of stopping and going. So when I was working on my January column for San Diego and not sewing on screen, I was doing a lot of piecing of other stuff in between. So instead of stopping and starting on my little leader ender here, I have like sitting by my machine, my hearts that I've been working on forever. Since the beginning of COVID, and I would just add a heart in between each one. I have another quilt that I've been working on, a brand new one. You haven't seen it yet. Not to be a tease, but I'm really excited. Like, I know I always probably say that, but this is going to be the first pattern that is specifically designed after the fussy cut shapes, and to use them in a really fun way. And I did a ton of fussy cutting for it, and I filmed videos while I was making it and took pictures so that there will be lots of bonus added content for you. So I'm excited for that. So I say so a lot. Also, by the way, I've realized when I do the captions on these, because sew, S-E-W, is different than sew, S-O, and the auto captioning always messes those up. So I've realized I say it a lot. Sorry if that in any way bugs you. It's just part of who I am. I am using my seam roller. I love this little tool by Violet Craft. I will pop over to my iron every once in a while, but my seam roller really does make a pretty flat seam, flat enough to sew my next piece. I would always press before finishing my quilt, but my seam roller is enough. And then I am not backstitching at the beginning and end of these. You may decide that you want to backstitch on what's going to be the outside of the column, since it's going to be kind of open for a while. I haven't had any issues with things coming apart. I'm using a 2.5 stitch length. If your stitch length is a little too long and too loose, you might have that issue. But that's not generally something that I have found to be a problem. Yes, thank you, Kylie. Kylie has been incredible in sharing the additional resources that she has put together. I am having so much fun with Kylie's spreadsheet. I used it to plan this quilt out, since I have all the numbers and kind of see what was going on. And it did help me kind of rearrange and change some fabrics. And if you look at my fabric range, because I had Kylie's little spreadsheet or little graph on the side, I realized that just the way the weather was this year in this city, I had some weird numbers in the beginning. So instead of all of my ranges being 5 at the beginning, now I actually have one range that is 6 followed by a range that is 4, because it made for a smoother transition. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Your range does not have to be consistent. If you live somewhere where like the middle range is just so monotonous or whatever, you could go 3 degrees and then switch to 2 degrees and then switch back to 3 degrees. You have the flexibility to do whatever you want. Not only is this your city, your fabric, but I highly doubt anyone in the future is going to analyze this and look at what you did and be like, oh my goodness, she used 5 degrees everywhere, but one time she used 4. What was she thinking? And even if they do, let them wonder. Let them be curious. Let them wonder what you were doing. There's nothing that says we have to follow the rules or a specific standard formula for everything. So this is coming together awesome already. So my other one is all solids with a black background. For this one, I opted to go with Tula Pink's Cream Fairy Dust. So totally opposite of what my other one is. This is, if you look at the other digital from when I was promoting the class, this is the other one that I used. But these are different fabrics because that digital is San Diego 2022. And this is not San Diego 2022. So I'm still waiting, still interested to see what you guys guess. Can you repost Kylie's spreadsheet? Marilyn, yeah, I'm sure Rachel can reshare that if needed. I think we have it posted to the featured section of the group. And additionally, when Rachel sent out Monday's email for the Temperature Quilt Sew Along, she put a roundup of some things, which was pretty cool. So in that email is some labels that someone made, is Kylie's spreadsheet, and a couple other things. Rachel put a good roundup. So if you are watching this and you are not in the Facebook group, because not everyone is, seems like it's about somewhere between 2/3, 3/4 are in the Facebook group. That content, Rachel is making sure that like the content that comes up in the Facebook group that is super valuable, that we share it in email format as well. So we want to make sure that everybody has as much of the information and the resources as possible. The Facebook group is great, but it's not required. And I know not everybody is on Facebook. So we want to make sure to get you all of that information. So yes, I'm just chugging along. So out of curiosity, for those of you who are here and are watching along, have you sewn in January? Are you sewing right now? Are you waiting till after today? Have you waiting for your fabrics? Like tell me where you're at. Wherever you are is fine. Everybody's in a different place and that's okay. But I am curious where you are in your process. And please know that Rachel and I are here to support you and to cheer you on, and so is everybody else. But we are here for any help that you need along the way. It's been 11 days into month 1, November 2017. November 2017. What was going on then? Oh, that was right before I got pregnant with Nate. For me, obviously not you, Kylie. But just thinking about where I was in my life. I'm up to date and finished January 1958. I was not alive in 1958. Sorry, Mom, I'm giving away your age. My mom was 4. 4? No, 58. 6. My mom was 6. I guess technically January, you were still 5, Mom. I'm hoping to sew January today after watching you. I have everything cut for the month. I'm almost halfway through sewing. It really, once you get figured out, if you pick out your fabrics ahead of time like me, it's really kind of, it's not mindless. I don't want to say it's mindless. It's smooth. It's just kind of, it's not hard piecing. It's not super complicated. There's really not points you're worried about matching up right now. So there is like a little bit of leeway if something's off a tiny bit. I think I'm gonna, so I have 4 days on so far. So I'm gonna get my iron heated up and give this a little bit of a press. And quick reminder for those who have not watched me before, this is pressing, this is ironing. We do not iron quilt blocks. If you ever see another quilter doing it, it makes me cringe. Some people, unfortunately, just have not been exposed or they've not had issues. I mean, if you've not had issues, you haven't had issues. But up and down is pressing, which makes things nice and flat without stretching or distorting. Ironing is what we do to clothes or to the when we're ironing yardage, or the back of our back of our quilt, or ironing the fabrics before we cut them. It needs to heat up a little more, but give it a little bit of a press. Done with January. Awesome. My son's birthday is November 1st. It worked out to do his first year of life. Yeah, so that was one thing that did come up in the group was, if I want to do first year I was married, or the first year my kid was born and they were born on the 15th, what do I do? And there's a couple different solutions. You could, if they're not born anywhere between the last couple days or the first couple days of the month, you could fill in the first half of the month with background, or there's nothing that says that every column needs to be January, February, March, April. So for instance, I was going to do Nate's first year. Nate was born on August 9th. I can make every column start on the 9th. And the first column would just be August 9th through September 8th. And then the next column would be September 9th through October 8th, and so forth and so on. I hope that makes sense. There's nothing that says it needs to be 1 to 30, 1 to 31. That's just how I structured it, so that, it does kind of look like a calendar if that's what you're doing, but it doesn't have to fit. And yeah, so I hope that makes sense. So yeah, so now you can see, let me show you. So can you see it? You can kind of see it down here. So these are the ones that I've pressed. And then this is the one that I just did finger pressing, and I'll show you with the seam roller. So you can see it's flat. It's not as flat as those, but it's flat. And so I find it's a big time saver to sew sections at a time and use my seam roller rather than hopping back to my iron. And then every so many I press. So with my San Diego one, I've been pressing with each 7 days, with each 1 week that I've been adding to my column. Are you finding it easy to track your temperatures? Have you all found a good website? I know, depending on what country you're in or city, some people that are more rural are finding different sources. Some people posted about weather stations and got me really fascinated. And then I started researching, and wow, there are so many. I kind of got a little overwhelmed, and then I backed off, and I was like, maybe I'm not ready to purchase one of these because there's just so many to pick from. And it is something I know not very much about, actual tracking weather stations, but I do love the idea of tracking things at my house and being 100% accurate. That does sound pretty cool. My daughter will be born in the middle of April, which is 30 days. So I'm thinking of using April 2024 as a start. Then add a background set, and then April. Yeah, you could do that. No sewing till actual May. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is there's so many possibilities and so much flexibility. Much to my surprise, I had data from an American website, asked for specific data, had it in the mail within 5. That's awesome. I would love to know what website you use to aggregate your data. If you would share that, that would be great. Yeah, there are a lot of resources, and one thing I found is, you can find out pretty much the temperature today anywhere today, but not all data is archived. So if you're looking back at 2000 or 1980 or 1960 or whatever, you're going to get more generalized data. You're not going to find the specific city I'm in within San Diego County. You're going to find San Diego. You're going to find LA. You're not going to find as detailed, which may or may not matter. My temperatures are not that different than San Diego proper, where I am in San Diego County. They're a little bit, but not that much. Someone I know mentioned the closest weather station to them was like 2,000 feet or 3,000 feet different in elevation because of where they live. So that's a big difference. That's going to cause something significant. So you got to kind of figure out what works for where you're at. Started January with smaller half hexagons using Allison glass. Yeah, so a bunch of people are realizing the size of this and that they want to go smaller. So I'd like to know, for those who have kind of been going down that road, is that something the rest of you want the information? Because it's really not that difficult. If you would like, I can go and write up the math for doing it with the mini. So it's 1.5 inch strip instead of 2.5. And then the whole thing is a quarter of the size because it's half the width and half the height. So it's a lot smaller. If enough of you are interested in that and would like that information, I can put that together. Have I thought about doing something for rainy days? So it doesn't really rain here that often. I mean, it did actually rain yesterday. But someone did come up with a good solution for that. In the Facebook group. We can try and include that in next month's roundup. If you're not on Facebook and you want that information before then, Debbie, just send me over an email at jbirdquilts@gmail.com and we will make sure to get that to you. Someone figured out a way to use a triangle and a diamond together to make the half hex to document rain. So if you want to do that, that is an option. Well, some people are also just using like special fabrics for like if it snows or rains or something, they're using something with sparkly or whatnot. So yeah. So my kitties were all going to go to the park today. Dad had all these fun plans for them. They both woke up with runny noses, which I feel like is just hard for the course right now this season. So hopefully you can hear them, but every once in a while I can hear them in the other room. They are having a little bit of a Sesame Street marathon to hopefully keep them contained while I'm doing this. But what do they say? Best laid plans. You make plans and then the universe goes, here's a cold, sniff, sniff. I feel like everybody's been getting sick this year. I know I was like super congested last time we talked. We were all inside for so long, and now that the world's opening back up, it's everywhere. All right. So not the fastest process. I was wondering how long this is going to take. And we've been doing this for about a half an hour. And with stopping and starting and talking, I have made it 8 days. So I don't know if I'm actually going to stay on for all 31. I will stay on as long as you want me to because I want to get this sewing done. So I will probably continue to sew this. But if there aren't questions, you don't have to just hang around just to watch me sew, or you can. Who knows? I know that was it Bonnie Hunter? Yeah, I think Bonnie Hunter used to have like a live webcam in her studio, and people would just watch her sew. I don't remember if she would talk or not, though. That's the thing. I feel like I'm a radio disc jockey that like has to keep talking because that's what they do, even though you can see me. So one quick little tip is, now that I have 8 days here and it's getting a little bit long, in order to not twist this and get it to pull and whatnot, I am going to start to fold it down a little bit onto itself like this. And I have these extra large Wonder Clips. And I am just going to gently put one clip on either side. And I will continue to roll it up after I add on a few more each time. And that way it's not just swinging around, because it's another opportunity to stretch it, is when you're sewing one piece on here, if it's hanging off of your table or it gets caught on something. I've had that happen more than once, especially when I'm binding the quilt and they're so big and they always like seem to knock my scissors off the wall and knock different things. So folding this up onto itself, just gently folding it, keeps it out of the way. And if you rest your arm on it and inadvertently cause a crease, it's not going to be permanent. It's something that you can easily press out. Second cold since Christmas. Yeah, I think my husband and I figured out between Halloween and New Year's, we were sick more days than not sick. Like it was not fun. Um, so I have not used my stiletto yet today. I have just been lining these up. If you have a stiletto and you find that helpful, you can go ahead and do that. But like I said, there's no points to line up here. So like if you really are a little bit off, up or down, it's not the end of the world. It's the kind of thing that you can fix and whatnot later. I don't recommend any trimming of the sides or anything at this point. If you have something then you really are questioning it, please send me a message or email me and I can help guide you. But this is designed to be a puzzle so that there is no trimming necessary. So don't ask before cutting. It's like measure twice, cut once. Definitely ask before cutting because you can't always put it back on. That's what I was trying to say. So there was 2 days this month. No one has guessed yet what this is. It's 2 days that it got on the warmer side for a January. So I have this like brighter green, which is kind of fun. And this blue, which had been the high, actually ends up being the low for this day. So this blue that was over here is now over here. So still waiting for someone to guess what I'm doing. Rachel knows, so you can't guess, Rachel. And I think did I tell Marianne? I know I told Julie. So let's see if anybody has ideas of what I'm doing. And then another thing that I am working on, not ready to totally share with you yet, but I'm working on is creating a pillow that will feature 1 month. So if you have like, I want to do the month I got married, or the month my kid was born, or the month I moved into my house, and then, or it'd be a great housewarming gift for someone else, the month they moved into their house. I'm coming up with a pillow pattern that can feature 1 month. That is going to be a bonus pattern that is going to be free for all of you that I will email out when I have together. I'm excited to do that because I'm definitely going to make Nate the month he was born and William the month he was born. And I think because of like the nature of pregnancy and birth, I'm actually going to do the month. Like I'm not going to do August 9th to September 8th. I'm going to do all of August. So it's going to include some of my pregnancy and some of whatnot. And the same with like, I was married on March 22nd, but I think I'm going to do all of March because like that was like the planning and the lead up to my wedding and then my honeymoon. So I think it'd be really cool to just have this like snapshot moment. And I don't think it's going to have the same effect that a whole year does because it's going to be, the changes are more subtle in just a month. But I think it's the kind of thing that and it becomes very personal to you. And at the end of the day, that's what makes it super special and unique and cool. And I'm also pondering a couple different methods for labeling our quilt and creating a key so that if you want to include your key of this was 20 to 25, this was 26 to 29, this, all that kind of stuff. I'm working on creating a key and some other stuff. So my brain, in case you're wondering, my brain never stops. I should say rarely stops when I'm sleeping. So my friends, Rachel, my husband, Lawrence, different people have often referred to me as a light switch. I'm either on or I'm off. And when I'm on, it's just, they're firing all the time. If you watch the AMA that Rachel and I did, she said she thinks and comes up with her best ideas in the shower. I come up with my best ideas when I'm driving. And I think that's because my brain has nothing else to do but look at the road. And so I start to like ponder, I could sew this, I could sew that. And more than once I have called Rachel and gone, I'm driving, I got an idea, start jotting down notes. And then I just ramble it off to her. And then she emails it to me and then I draw it out when I get home. It actually works out pretty well for us. But yeah, I just get ideas all the time and then try and turn them into stuff. So again, I'm just going to kind of roll this again and clip as I go. And then I do take the clips off when I am done the month and go ahead to store it in my little bin. It's just for right now while I'm sewing so that it's not kind of hanging off my sewing table. You know, the way that you're sewing these 60s on right now, this would be totally hanging off my table. And that's not the end of the world. If you've already done your January and you did it that way, it's probably fine. This is just a tip that you can pick up on for the future if you would like, so that you can keep it from going everywhere. Are you going to mark the row somehow? You know what? I probably should. It's January, so I haven't really gotten that far yet, Nancy. It was interesting when I was showing all of you in the beginning the January for San Diego and then the other December. I realized like they're really similar. So I'm gonna have to go back to just confirm that I have the right one. So yeah, I think I'm gonna take a post-it note or a piece of paper and pin it to the top. The first part of the jewel is gonna get cut off, so you can absolutely pin to that without worrying. So let me show you. We are going to take a ruler and cut straight across from this point over here to create a rectangle top. So anything up here, you could either write up here, you could just write, actually, I might just do that. You could just write January. It's black, that won't work, but you could write January, whatever, or you could pin a piece of paper up here, mark up here, because this is going to get cut like this. I had you start with this because it gives you the perfect angle to put the pieces on. But yeah, we're going to end up cutting off part of it so that we turn it into a rectangle at the top. Rachel and I were curious as to how long today would be. So I did clock myself yesterday. And when I was doing nothing besides just sewing, I was able to get 7 days done in 10 minutes. Definitely going at a slower pace, reading your questions and talking to you. And that's okay. It's Wednesday. We're just sewing. We're hanging out. I kind of like having this time set aside to just do this, to get this done, to take care of this. You know, interestingly enough, I rarely get to do a block of the month or a column of the month in this case as a column of the month or block of the month. You know, when you think of toes and sand or nebula or any of those, I have to have it done and all the information together for all of you. So I often have it done. I make the whole first quilt in 2 or 3 weeks. And then sometimes I get to make it again along with you. But even then, sometimes, you know, life is what it is, and I'll record a video in advance, and I don't always get to sew them that month. So this is really kind of different for me and fun to be able to actually be doing this in real time with you. I'm enjoying it. The green board, yeah, this is my cutting mat. So I don't use the side with the markings because I don't find them terribly accurate. So I keep the plain side up all the time. And I have a bunch of cutting mats. And this is just one of my cutting mats. And someone put the first letter of the month at the top of each row. That works too. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to write anything that's going to be seen in the finished quilt. Nothing against that. You could embroider or hand embroider, machine embroider, January, February, all that if you'd like. But I definitely am planning on marking it so that I don't lose track of things right now. And yeah, and then I have a couple different labeling options I'm coming up with for the back, because this is definitely the kind of quilt that I think, if you know me, you know I love labels always, but I think especially a quilt like this, you really want to label and provide as much information as possible on what it is and where it was and who made it and maybe the why. You know, this is my kid's first year of life or whatever. Because this is not just your run-of-the-mill quilt. This is really incredibly personal, and we are all going to have such different quilts, and it's going to be fun to share that piece of the story. If you are a Tula Pink fan, which I know many of you are, and you caught yesterday's Tula Tuesday, most of it was about my nightshade quilt that is set sale, which is amazing, and I appreciate Tula showing that to all of you. And if you have questions about that, let me know. But one of the things she did at the end was she talked about a mistake that she made. She put the wrong binding on a quilt. And by wrong, it was just not the one she had intended. And she's planning on taking it off to put the correct one on. But her brother made a suggestion to leave a little piece of it as kind of a story, a documentation of what had happened. And Tula talked about how, we don't document enough why we made quilts, the story of a quilt, what's going on. But technology has changed that. Social media has changed that. Whether you wrote a blog post about your quilt, whether you made a Facebook post, or whether you're Tula and you make a video, someone can go back and look at that to see why you did it. So, long time from now, someone can Google temperature quilt and see that we all did this together and see what the point was. And if you share enough information on a quilt that someone can then basically look up and research, it's fun to know the story, because I do have some antique quilts that were made by a family member, and I know nothing about them. I know nothing other than the name and the year. I have a blog post that I did, I want to say back when I lived on the East Coast, so over 12 years ago. So many of you probably know nothing about this story, but my mom, Sandy, her mom, not Emily's mother. Was it Emily's? It was either Emily's mother or Emily's grandmother. His name was Alice Edith. And Alice Edith, she went by Edie. So in a lot of our family records, she's written as Edie. So it took me a little while to figure out who AEK was. AEK is Alice Edith Cardix. Cardix was, so I guess she was Emily's mom, I think. So I think I have to double check this now. So Emily's maiden name was Cardix, and I have these quilts that she made, and they're pretty traditional patterns, and I can research the history of the pattern itself, but I don't know anything else. I don't know, why did she pick the purple and white? Why did she pick the fabrics that she picked? I don't know any of her story and who she was. One of the only things I know is in one of our albums, there's a story about her and a friend of hers, and the friend's name was B. B bought a coat, and the plaid on the back of the coat didn't match. And Alice was a perfectionist and was not satisfied with this. So she took apart the store-bought coat that B purchased and made the plaid line up and re-sewed it back together for her, it's such a small piece of information, but I think that's amazing, because then I can see that in me when I have a quilt block that doesn't line up perfectly or something, or if I am in a store and there's stripes on a shirt and they don't line up, I won't buy it. I'm I got that from Alice Edith. That's definitely where that came from. So I love story. In addition to being a quilter, I am a scrapbooker, and I love writing down the story behind things. Oh, Rachel, you're amazing. You found the blog post. Yep. 2009. Man, that was a while ago. I'm totally going to read that blog post when I'm done sewing, because now I want to remember all of the little details. What else? Learning how to cut on the unmarked side during Nebula made such a difference. I'm really glad that helped you, Laura. It's amazing how we think that things that are provided are helpful, and I think companies intend for them to be helpful, but it is amazing how different the measurements on a mat are from the measurements on the ruler. And whatever material this is, I have found can slightly shrink or expand, where rulers are made from hard acrylic, which cannot in the same way. And rulers are always more accurate than mats. And when I stopped using the lines on a mat and started only using the lines on a ruler, my accuracy increased tenfold. So that's a big part of why I teach, and what I teach and share is just things that I have learned. I think quilting is incredibly collaborative, and there's no point in hogging the information. I'm very good at the internet. Yes, you are, Rachel. I love you, and I miss you. I hope you're good. I know you're in Rachel's got some weird weather, so I've been tracking Rachel's weather too. to possibly make her one of these in some way, shape, or form. And she's got, what did I say? Like your low today is higher than your high in like a couple days. Like she's had some big swings lately. Had some snow that stuck last night. So it's, I used to live there. I used to have 4 seasons, and I most definitely do not really have 4 seasons anymore. But this temperature quilt has been really a fun kind of picture into all of your worlds to see what everybody else is going through, which I think can just be a fun kind of little experiment. So yeah, I'm chugging along now. I think, oh my God, I got 14 days left, so I'm more than halfway there. All right, yeah, we're making progress. We'll have 4 seasons in a week. Yeah, that is strange. I do remember though, less here. When I wake up here, I just put clothes on. But I do remember when I lived in Philly that I would like wake up and I had to check the weather before getting dressed, because it was like, how many layers today? And do I need my boots? And do I need this? And do I need that? I also probably don't have to check the weather as much here because I don't leave the house as much. I am definitely a homebody, for those who don't know that about me. I love my house. I love my family. I also love breaks from them, but I do love my house and my family. I love my sewing machine. I love my bed, and I love being home. I think that's another reason why I really am treasuring this opportunity to teach to you in this way. Is I do love teaching, and I went to Sisters a couple times and taught at some other events, and but I don't love the traveling and packing up all the quilts and all the stuff, but I love the teaching part. And I love helping you grow and learn and have those moments. So this has been a really good kind of compromise where I got to eat breakfast with my kids this morning and got to have some hugs and some cuddles. And now they're hanging out with dad. And when we're done sewing here today, I get to go check in on them again. That would not be so easily achievable if I was on an airplane. We keep checking the weather throughout the day to exercise and run errands every time a day. Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. I'd like to see people tell us where they're from when they post photos. It's a good idea. We can encourage that, Karen, and tell people to post that. I think sometimes people just naturally, they've already posted one time where they're from and then they forget. I'm definitely guilty of that. But I think that's a great idea. So I will encourage people to do that. And then if they forget, always feel free to ask in the comments. I got to say, there's a lot of good Facebook groups, but you guys have been really great. I think this has been one of the best Facebook groups I've been in a long time, because of how supportive and encouraging and collaborative between people like Kylie sharing her spreadsheet and people sharing their ideas for the rain and their tagging systems and helping people navigate fabric selection and whatnot. It's really been a beautiful thing to kind of see in this group, and I am loving it. I didn't really know what to expect. This is a, how do I word it? This is a different kind of thing. Not everyone wants to make a temperature quilt, and it is a commitment in the sense that you either have to look up all of your historical data or you have to be writing down current data. This is not the quilt for everyone. So when we launched this class, we had high hopes and goals, and we have over 1,000 people, which is incredible. But you just don't know. Doesn't matter how much work we put into things. Sometimes we do a lot and it's a dud, and sometimes we do a lot and you respond really well. So I am so glad the response to this has been good, because it has been on my bucket list to do this for a long time. And I always had kind of in my head just thought it would be like a Julie thing I did on the side. And then when I realized, I can make this a Jaybird thing, it kind of opened up so many possibilities, and it's been really fun to do this with you. Still, nobody's guessing what am I doing? Well, it's January. I can tell you that. It's January. It's not this year. It's not this city. So what am I doing? Please guess. Someone. I think I'm gonna make so I'm making two. We were talking about sizes. I think I'm gonna make the current San Diego one. I think I'm gonna make the small lap with no sashing. And I think I'm gonna have that one be for Nate. He really loves the solids and the rainbows. And so I think that I'm gonna do, and then I think this one I'm going to add sashing and make one of the bed sizes. I haven't decided if I'm gonna make it a queen or a king yet, but I think I'm gonna make this one into a bed size. Because I think that will be the best use for this one. Birth year of the year you started Jaybird. I'm guessing Philly. You are right. Make San Diego. I have to make Philadelphia. Because I did live there for 29 years, and it does have much more four seasons than here. So the variety that came up this earlier, this was also a clue, because 0 to 19 does not exist here in San Diego, and 95 to 110 also doesn't really exist in San Diego. So this is definitely a wider range, and I am doing my birth year. So for those who don't know, I was born on December 1st, which makes things super easy. So this is not my birth month. I actually started with the month, my second month of life, because I want to sew the correct month with you at all times, so that you can see what we're going to do at the end when it's a 31 day, when it's February, so forth and so on. So this is January, and I was born in 1982, December. So this is January 1983. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I don't think I was one. I wasn't even one. I was just born. I don't think I've heard stories that my mom's told me of, taking me to doctor's appointments and giant puffy coats and blankets and being cold in the winter. But I don't think I've really thought about it until I pulled up the data. It's really cool. It's really cool to see that information from when I was born and to be able to find it. So this is a perfect example. I lived in a suburb that was 30 minutes from Philadelphia, and there is no historical record for that suburb, but there is for Philadelphia. So I am okay with that. I feel like it's accurate enough. Our weather tends to be pretty similar in that area anyway, and this is a snapshot. So it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be good and to be close and to give the feel of what I'm trying to capture. So I'm excited to see this come together. All right, 10 more to go. You're all getting pretty quiet, which I hope means that you don't have questions and you're just enjoying watching, and you are either sewing along with or doing multitasking. I don't know what you generally do when you sew, but when I'm not sewing and talking to you, I usually have Netflix or Hulu or something on in the background. I used to listen to music when I sew, but now I tend to binge watch TV shows that I've already watched, if that makes sense. So that I'm kind of tuned into them, but I'm not I don't have to stop and look at the screen and pay attention because I already know the storyline, but it kind of reminds me of them. I think I just exhausted my music collection at one point, and it just felt monotonous. And so I switched to TV, and that was kind of a fun switch. And so I've been doing that since. So I don't watch much TV in my real life, but I do have it on when I'm sewing. Do the same. Speaking of multitasking, towels in the dryer. Hopefully it hasn't been that long that you waited. I was very good at that before I had kids. Now, not so much. The amount of times that things sit for long periods of time before we remember that we started the washer or dryer, especially because they have those dings when they're done. And in our house, our washer and dryer are right outside William's room. And so we found if we do laundry when he's napping or sleeping, those beeps were really loud. And sometimes we'd see him stirring. So we turned them on silent, which is a blessing and a curse. Doesn't wake him. Also doesn't remind us that we have laundry going on. Audiobooks while sewing. That's a good one. Never really thought to do audiobooks, Rach. I might have to try that. Okay, we are in the home stretch. It is really fun to see these, each of these columns come together and get the snapshot. I know-ish what this is going to look like from Kylie's spreadsheet, but I actually didn't get around to cutting all the fabrics for this yet, so I haven't actually sewn my sample column, so I don't really know what this is going to look like until I actually sew it with you here right now. So I am thoroughly enjoying it so far, and I feel like I made the right choices. I think I have 17 fabrics, and they're a combination of Tula's Tiny Dots and Stripes, Mineral, and Hexie. And then I think that's it. I don't think I added any fairy dust besides the background or wildflower. I tried to keep it pretty monotone. You don't have to do that, but I think that's what I decided to do. When you cut out the diamond and the triangle for rain days, will it be the same size? Yes. The same allowance accounts for that. So a diamond and a triangle put together do make a half hex. Just like 3 triangles would make a half hex, or 2 triangles would make a diamond. You can think of these as like puzzle pieces where things can be interchanged like that. 2 half hexagons make a hexagon. If you think of this as like a math puzzle, a hexagon has 6 triangles in it, and a hexagon can be made from 2 half hexagons, 3 diamonds, 6 triangles, so forth and so on. So yes, it is accounted for, and 1 diamond and 1 triangle do make exactly a half hexagon. Good question. Sometimes I forget that not all of you think in triangles and hexagons and diamonds like I do. The Hexamore had its 10-year anniversary last year. The Sidekick has its 10-year anniversary this year. So it has been a long time since I started developing rulers, and my brain really just thinks in these shapes now. It's actually kind of harder for me when I need to do a square or something, because my brain is just so well programmed to be 60, 30, 90, all these like different things to do with these shapes. Is how my brain works. So I can cut the diamond out of the half hex. I already cut, and just add the triangle and it would be good. Yes, you can. Yeah. So, and I think the post that's tagged in the Facebook group goes over it as well. If you're in the Facebook group, Debbie, you can take a look at that. But yeah, you can trim your existing half hex down to a diamond, or if you haven't cut all your half hex yet, you can just go ahead and cut a diamond instead. Yeah. Easy peasy. All right, we're getting there. So we've been here about an hour, and I think I have 6 days left, so not bad. And if I wasn't talking to you, I would be even faster. And if it takes you longer or shorter, that is a-okay. This is not a race. As I said, I think in these shapes, so I probably do sew faster than the average person. And that's okay. I want you to come up with what is going to make this work best for you, work best in your schedule, make you the happiest, help you keep up with it the best. If that's every day, do it every day. If that's every 3 days, do it every 3 days. If it's once a week, like I've been doing, do it once a week. If it's once a month, do it once a month. Whatever you do, track your data. That's the one thing that's, not impossible, but harder to go back. So track your data and then figure out what works for you, and also adjust. Except that you don't need to do the same thing forever. If you start out sewing weekly and then that's overwhelming, switch to monthly. If you've been monthly but that's overwhelming, switch to weekly. There are no hard and fast rules here. Share as often as you like in the Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook and you have questions, you can leave them here in the comments on YouTube. You can send me an email, jbirdquilts@gmail.com. If I don't have the answer, Rachel does. If Rachel doesn't have the answer, we can find it out in the Facebook group. This is definitely a collaborative thing, you know. So I'm going to be back here every month, kind of doing the same thing we did this month, and I will go over any pertinent information, kind of like housekeeping, talk about the second part of the pattern, the bonus patterns, whatnot, and what other things are coming up. So in February, we have a lot of exciting things going on. So starting next week, Monday next week, is the Rock Candy Fussy Cut Sew Along. And then that is going to be followed by the Candy Dish Fussy Cut Sew Along. So if you've been around a while, I've done sew alongs for both of these before with Journey to Nebula. And then there was another Rock Candy one after that as well. This is geared towards fussy cutting. So the new Jaybird Quilts Fussy Cut set that came out this month, which can be used for this temperature quilt, can also be used for a variety of things. And I am going to guide you through making rock candy and candy dish and how I figure out what I am fussy cutting and the best way to use the fabric and to plan it out. Got a whole bunch of videos for you. So if you were interested, Rachel dropped the link in here. If you haven't signed up yet, you can sign up for either one or both. It's free to sign up for any of them, free to watch the videos. You need to buy the pattern if you're going to make the project to have all the information. But it's just going to be another opportunity to, as I often say, expand your toolbox. I think of our quilting and sewing abilities as expanding your toolbox. And I especially like to do that with small projects that are nice and achievable and make you feel like you can give yourself a pat on the back and you're done. So Candy Dish is a hexagon table topper. And Candy Dish is a 16-inch small little throw pillow. And so they're both great opportunities to fussy cut and feature prints. I'm going to be using Tula Pink's Tiny Beast, but you could use anything from your stash you've been holding on to that you didn't want to cut because it's got super something special that you wanted to feature in fussy cut. So we're going to go over all of that starting next week. So I am looking forward to that. And if you have questions about those sew alongs, you can ask those as well. And you can email us. The format for those, as I mentioned, they're free to sign up, and we will send you an email the morning of, and they're going to be recorded videos here on YouTube that I've edited and put together that show a combination of me at my cutting station and at my sewing machine and pressing, and show you from start to finish how to do the fussy cutting and the layout and considerations to make for cutting your shapes and then piecing the project together. Rock candy, if you have not ever done rock candy before, it is one of my favorite projects. I have made it over 20 times. I've lost count of how many times I've made it because there's just so many different possibilities. And it's so fun. And it's such a good scrap buster. The pattern is written for a charm pack, but it can be done with scraps when you're fussy cutting. I'm going to show cutting it from fat eighths. You can cut it from any fabric in your stash, but it's really a good, fun, small, quick. It makes for a nice gift. I have a lot of them seasonal. So my Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Anybody knows I'm Philly girl. So my Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. My mom has an Eagles rock candy. I have made them for many other holidays and different occasions, and I like to switch them out. Thank you for that's awesome. You're into the blizzard in Chicago. That's going to be fun. I love kind of being able to document life events of that magnitude in a different way. You know, I'm sure you wrote about that blizzard in her scrapbook or her baby book or something or whatever, but this is going to be another cool way to kind of put that into a piece, into memory. All right, so we are almost done. So if you have more questions, I'm going to show you rock candy in just a minute. But if you have any other questions about today's temperature quilt, please go ahead and ask them. And then if you think of something later and you're like, oh, darn, she's done her live, we monitor the comments. So please go ahead and ask later in the comments. We will get back to you and answer you. Don't ever feel like you missed your opportunity. I'm always here. You know, that being said, I don't always respond if you message me at like 7 o'clock at night and I'm with my kids until the next day, but I am always here. And I will always try and get back to you as soon as possible. Sometimes that can be challenging because it is just me and Rachel, and we both, you know, have a lot of other things going on in life as well. And my Rugrats keep me busy. But if you've been around here for a little while, you know my Rugrats and hopefully love them as much as I do. And I appreciate your support through my transition of being just Julie to Julie and crew. March 5th wedding was a blizzard too. Oh my goodness. My bat mitzvah when I was 13, it was like a crazy snowstorm. And I remember like I was like freezing, but the photographer wanted to like take a picture of me out front in my dress with the snow. And like at the time, you know, I'm 13. I'm like, why are we doing this? And she's like, you're going to want this picture one day. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And she was right. I want it. All right. Something's wrong. What is that? Of course, we literally on our second to last hexagon. And somehow I got a mess of threads in my bobbin here. How did that happen? See, I'm human. Stuff happens. All right, let's see if... Nope, something's still wrong. If you're like me, you can hear it. It's always... You can always hear when something's going on. All right, let's just take this out completely. Let's take this out. Let's try and put this back in. I'm going to grab another leader ender that has less thread on it because that one is getting very full, just to kind of see if I can see what's going on. That is still not good. Now I'm going to rethread my machine. Oh, first was the bobbin. Yeah, that's not good stitches at all. Well then. I do want to show you how to put the last pieces in the bottom of the column. So let's get this fixed. Yeah, you like that I'm doing my birth year, Mom? I thought you would think that was fun. You remember it much better than I because I was a baby. All right. When in doubt, rethread your bobbin, rethread your machine. If that doesn't work, turn your machine off and on. Oh, that's what it was. Something happened up in the top because now it sounds smooth as butter again. All right, that was weird. Okay. Luckily, didn't really eat my piece up here. You know, sometimes when it like pushes it down into the throw plate, it kind of like eats the corner of your piece. That's nice and smooth again. Okay. Get a pair of scissors. I don't want this leader ender to be so big. I just kind of keep scraps around. Generally speaking, doing this leader ender thing avoids what just happened, but there's no way to avoid everything. Things just happen sometimes. Yes, this is live sewing. 100%. Keeping it real. All right. So this is January 31st. So I'm going to finish this one, and then I'm going to go give it a good press, and then show you how we finished the column. So in your pattern are 3 different pages. One talks about a 31-day month, which is January. One talks about a 30-day month. which is 30 days, has September, April, June, and November. April, June, yeah, there you go. Always still sing the song. And then a 28 or 29-day month, if if it's a leap year. So in order for all of our columns to be the same length, we need to add a different amount of fabric to the bottom of each of them, depending on how many days we're in that month. So if you are sewing January, like me, you are going to add 2 half hexagons and then 2 half triangles. If you are sewing a 30-day month, you're going to sew 4. And if you're sewing February, you're actually going to add 8 to make it long enough. So all that information is in your pattern for you to reference. So again, so now you can kind of see I've just continued to roll it. Nice little chunk up there. And it's not really causing any creases, just having it like this. But now I just have like the little end. So I'm just going to start with 2 half hexagons, and I'm going to sew them on as if they were a temperature. So the same method that we just sewed the previous 62 half hexagons on. I'm not sure where I decided to wear black today. I don't know if you can see, but I can see like all the fuzzies growing on me. Black is not a color you should wear when you're sewing. Note to self. I'm just going to give that a little press open. And you may have heard when I'm pressing, I do press with steam. Personal preference. Some people like steam, some don't. I find it makes things lie nice and flat, and I don't really have shrinkage issues. I don't keep the iron on the piece very long, and I'm not ironing, I'm pressing. If you have issues, you can not do steam, you can do flatter or something else, whatever helps you get your pieces looking as good as possible. So now that I've added these 2, it just gives me a little bit of space here at the bottom to kind of have a little bit of background filled in. And then I'm going to take a 4.5 inch right half triangle, and I'm going to piece it here. Now, if you cut this with the sidekick ruler, you have a point here. If you cut it with the Jaybird Quilts Fussy Cut Shapes, you have a blunt point like that. If you have the blunt point, you know exactly where to line it up here. Either way, this end lines up perfectly down here. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And generally I sew with a smaller piece on top, unless there's a lot of seams in the bottom, which is what I talked about with the sashing. But we've been sewing all along with 1 seam on the bottom as we add our next half X. So this is just kind of really similar to adding the next half X because you would have added it here. It's just not the same shape. Instead it's a half triangle. And if you want to trim that point off, I have videos where I have gone over how to trim that sharp point off if that would help you with your alignment. But basically, I'm going to sew that same scant 1/4 inch. And since I haven't sewn that point off, I'm sewing to the valley that was created between the 2 points. So I will take this off and show you before I press what that means. So they lined up perfect here, and then I sewed to this valley. I wasn't aiming for that, but that's where you should be with your accurate scant 1/4 inch seam, if that makes sense. Don't swerve off to get there. Just know that that's where you should be if your seam, if everything's doing what it should be doing. And then I'm going to open up this one. And I am going to go press this because I want this bottom part to be as flat as possible before adding the last little half triangle. And I like to press from the back and then flip it over and press from the front as well. And then when I'm done, I'm just going to stick this in my little box with all my stuff. And I'm not going to, I'll probably take a picture and then stick it in my box. And then I'm not going to touch it for a while. I am not, that way I don't disturb it or do anything. So this is a left, sorry, I didn't press it very well. It's a 2.5 inch left half triangle. and it does have the point cut off from the Jaybird Quilts Fussy Cut shape. And so for this, then I can use that to line up here, right there. Okay. And then this point, interestingly, you're not lining it up with this one you see up here. You're lining it up with this one that's in the seam allowance. So let me show you from the back. When you press the seam open, this part over here with the yellow star was created from this piece. That point is what you're lining that up with. Can you see that? So not the point that comes out, but the one behind it. If it helps you to pin that in place, you can do that. And you can backstitch at the beginning and the end of this if you'd like, since this is the end of our column. I am not going to, but you are more than welcome. And someone asked, is there a video on scan? I'm pretty sure, yeah, the scan information was included in this week's roundup email. Looks like Rachel just posted a link to that. Yeah, I've gone over that a few times in a few different ways. I like to go over that when the camera's like right at the sewing machine. So there we go. And you'll notice there is like a tiny little area that's missing, basically, that's in the seam allowance. That is right. So if yours looks like that, that is right. I know it feels weird, but it's because of how the shapes are created and the fact that you don't have a sharp point all the way to the end of this. So that's fine because it's in the seam allowance. So that is what the bottom of your column should look like. So that is it for sewing your first column. And beginning on Monday, if you are interested, this is one of my Fussy Cut Rock candies. So this is Tula Pink Homemade. And fun fact, I made this before the Jaybird Quilts Fussy Cut shapes existed, as you now see them and know them to be. So that's the Jaybird Quilts Fussy Cut shapes. I did this with my prototypes that I have had for a really, really long time. I don't know where they're hiding. I was going to show you. But I'll find them some other day. But I did this with my prototypes before you knew even those products were going to exist. So you can see I fussy cut all of the hands from this collection. So like holding the little snips and the scissors and the hearts and, oh, we got a fuzzy on there, and the needle. And then I decided to fussy cut the scissors and the rotary cutter. And I didn't fussy cut everything. You know, this print, if you know this collection, this print has a sewing machine in it. And so like I included, like, I focus more on fussy cutting the background. So with those, it doesn't look like they're fussy cut, but they are. It's just that I was focusing on getting the blue background as opposed to getting the pink sewing machine. And yeah, so this is what we're going to start on Monday, which is rock candy. And then that's going to go for 2 weeks, followed by candy dish for another 2 weeks. And they're both going to be done with the Jaybird Quilts Fussy Cut set. And someone wants to see my finished column. Sure. All right, let's unclip this. All right, hi. You can see my face again. All right, slide my chair out of the way. And let's see how it turned out. Oh, it's awesome. I'm loving it. All right, so there it is. Kind of like scroll you up. You're my little one all out of nowhere. So this is this is a lot of fun. How much good thing you have backup machine. I do have backup machines, although I just did give you my primary backup machine. I'm sewing on my Sapphire 875 quilt, and I gave my mom my Ruby for now because her original embroidery machine is a designer one that takes floppy disks, and our computer that still put out floppy disks finally died. Sad day. So my mom had no way to make new designs, so I gave her my embroidery machine along with my laptop, and the embroidery software because I'm a very nice daughter and I love her a lot. And I wasn't using the embroidery features, to be honest. So this is January 1983. And now I am just simply going to, if I unclipped it, I am going to fold it in half, and I am going to put the seams in just to kind of protect them a little more. You can fold it either way, whatever makes more sense to you. And I'm either gonna, I think I'm gonna do in half and then in thirds. That's what's gonna fit best in my little storage bin. So now I've got this little sandwich, and I will be back here live to sew with you on is it March 1st? Yeah, February's got 28 days. So yeah, so March 1st. In the meantime, I will be posting weekly in the Facebook group, my San Diego one, as I sew that one weekly. And I am available to answer your questions. And I also hope to see you starting on Monday to join in on the Rock Candy Fussy Cut Sew Along. That's going to be a lot of fun. And you can learn things in that you can transfer over into the temperature quilt with cutting and with adding some special pieces. So I hope you have enjoyed today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.